Appley here from dailyfanmma.com, back again with another UFC Quick Picks video for Hermansson vs. Vettori on Saturday. As always, we are on the Mayo Media Network, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel, like the video, comment below who your favorite play on the slate is, and make sure you check out that Dogger Pass podcast. Again, I'm going to give you my favorite cash game play, tournament play, salary play, and my fade of the week. But these are just quick picks, so if you're looking for full breakdowns, Paul Shaughnessy, Cody Safdie, those guys already posted the Dog or Pass podcast that came out on Wednesday. Full breakdowns of every fight on the slate on this channel, so make sure you give that video a look. We are coming off a tough slate, I believe. I forget what the main event was already. Anthony Smith versus Devin Clark ended up being the main event. Kamako was our cash game play. That one fizzled out. Our tournament play, Sumu Daierji, that one came through. Fade of the week, Gina Mazzani. She ended up scoring 144 points. That was probably one of the biggest flops that I've had this entire year. That just shows how tough this game is. And props to you if you ended up on Gina Mazzani. Hopefully our fade of the week does not end up on the optimal lineup this week. But I will give myself some credit for Parker Porter as the salary play. He came through big at 7.2K, ended up on the optimal lineup. That was a big score for me. So fingers crossed we go 4 for 4 this week. But let's start off with my cash game play. This week I am looking up toward the top of the list at Movsar Evloev at 9.3K on DraftKings for my cash game play. He is minus 630 to win over Nate Landwehr, and honestly I'm not sure if he's going to be very popular on this slate because there are a lot of mid-range fighters who have a lot of upside. And you look at Evloev, 9.3K, he scored 83 points, 86 points, 70 points in his 3 UFC wins. Those aren't the highest scores. And a lot of people think this line is too wide. I understand that to some degree. So I don't know if he's going to be ultra popular in tournaments. He's the best cash game play of the slate, though. You have to kind of look at the metrics only and focus on that for cash games. And again, minus 630 is the heaviest favorite on the slate. But not only that, I mean, this guy's a very technical striker and grappler, averaging 4.44 significant strikes per minute and averaging 3 takedowns per 15 minutes, fighting an opponent in Landwehr who, can be active, can be tough, but can certainly be hurt, can be rocked, can be taken down. It's not the brightest guy in the world, so I think Evloev has multiple paths to victory here. I think he can take Landwehr down, maybe not submit him, but potentially dominate him on the mat. I think he can outstrike Landwehr at range too. He's a much more defensively sound boxer than Landwehr. And in a small cage, the pace that Landwehr brings, I don't think Evloev's just going to be able to sit back and play a cautious range game and score 70 points in a victory. I think there's going to be a lot of exchanges in this one. So I think this is going to be a higher paced fight for Evloev than what is typical for him. And that's just going to create more exchanges. That's going to create more potential for fantasy points. To me, that raises his floor and ceiling in a victory. And I'm not even looking for a finish necessarily. He's plus 195 to win inside the distance. So that's not the greatest number in the world, not necessarily expecting a finish, but it could come. And even if it doesn't come, I think he can land multiple takedowns, score multiple advances, and lands somewhere 80, 100 significant strikes over 3 rounds. So even in a decision, I think Evloev has potential to score 85, 95, 100 points, which is what we're looking for. We're not looking for boom or bust in cash games. There's plenty of boom or bust fighters on this card. In cash games, we're looking for safety. And safety on this slate is Evloev, the biggest favorite, multiple paths to victory in a high-paced fight, 9.3K. Evloev is my cash game play of the week. All right, next up for my tournament play, I'm going to dive down a little bit here and target Jimmy Flick at 8.5K. Flick is making his UFC debut. He is minus 165 over Cody Durden. And I don't think Flick is an elite prospect necessarily, because I'm not sold on his wrestling. I'm not sold on his striking. Many of his losses are in fact by TKO, but he is a dominator on the mat. And so when this guy does have success, he has potential to score 90, 100, 120 points every time. So this is more of a situation where I don't even care as much about the matchup for Flick. On DraftKings, he's a fighter that I want to target every single time he's on the slate. And yeah, sometimes he's going to bust, and sometimes we're going to have to pay a lot for him. Sometimes we won't have to pay much for him, depending on the matchup. But when he wins, I think he can score 100 points, and that is upside. That's what we're targeting in tournaments. And he's coming off a Contender Series victory in which I think he landed like 10 advances on the mat, got a couple takedowns. This may not be the easiest fight for him against Cody Durden, and Durden has a wrestling background and a grappling background. But if Flick gets this fight on the mat, I do think he's going to have advantages. I do think he's going to rack up advances. I do think he has potential to win by submission. This kid is a finisher. He's 15-5 professionally, and 13 of his victories have come by submission. He's also minus 104 to win inside the distance, which I think is actually the best line on this entire slate. So even if you push aside any of the narrative, theoretically, this guy has the best chance to win by submission on the entire slate. And if he inside the distance, and if he wins inside the distance, it's going to come from takedowns. It's going to come from advances. Hopefully, some significant strikes on the mat. And at 8.5K, it doesn't even take that much. He doesn't need 120 points to pay off. I'd be happy with 85-90, but I think this kid can score 100 theoretically in a first-round submission, in a second-round submission, a third-round submission like he got in the Contender Series, or even in a decision, depending on how the fight plays out. So 8.5K for Jimmy Flick. He's one of my favorite tournament plays of the week, and I think you need exposure to him on this slate. All right, next up is my salary play of the week, and I'm going to try this again. I'm going to give out Jose Quinones at 7.9K. We gave him out the last time he fought against Luis Smolka, which was a few weeks ago, but Smolka had a terrible weight cut. I believe he was, hospitalized to some degree, and the fight was canceled. But now, a few weeks later, these guys are back in action. As of now, Friday morning, I know Smolka has weighed in successfully, so this fight is on. And Jose Quinones at 7.9K is a fighter who I don't love, but someone who I do think has upside and a real path to victory. He's only plus 115 to win against Smolka, but here's what I like about the situation, and I said it last time, and apologize if I'm bringing up the same pieces of information, but Smolka is just such a defensive liability. He's been knocked down many times. He doesn't defend strikes very well. He defends takedowns at 30%. So what we see historically for Smolka is that when Smolka wins, Smolka scores big. He scores 100, 110, 130, 150. And I think Smolka is a very good tournament play on this slate as well. But when Smolka loses, he is giving up massive scores to pretty much every opponent. Casey Kenny, Matt Schnell, Matthews Nicolau, Tim Elliott, Ray Borg, Brandon Moreno, pretty much every single one of those fighters ended up on the optimal lineup. Quinones isn't a prototypical finisher as well. I'm not even sold if he has a 100-point upside. He's only plus 505 to win inside the distance, which is a very poor line, and theoretically that's a reason why you could be off him in this spot. I just think when Quinones wins, he's going to have to produce offense because Smolka is so defensively vulnerable. In every loss, Smolka gives up a ton of points. Quinones lands 2.58 takedowns per 15 minutes. He has a path to victory with his wrestling, and even on the feet. I still have concerns about Smolka's weight cut and where he's at in that situation, and I know Quinones is more ready to compete for 15 minutes. So 7.9K. Quinones, not my favorite play on the week, but someone I'm definitely considering for salary savings, someone who theoretically, historically, Smolka, win or lose his opponent, or he puts up a big score on DraftKings. So Quinones at 7.9K, someone I'm definitely interested in, someone I'm going to have exposure to on this slate. All right, finally, our fade of the week. And I don't know if I'd fade anyone if I had the choice, but my fade of the week is going to be Taila Santos at 8.9K, and it's as simple as she's kind of last on the list in this range in terms of who I want to pay up for. I'd rather pay up for Evloev, I'd rather pay up for Jordan Leavitt, I'd rather pay up for Topuria, and then even priced below Santos is Vellante, Dolidze, Benitez, Flick, Hill, Smolka, and then the main event. So Santos just falls at the bottom of that tier for me, especially at 8.9K. She's going to need 95, 100 points on this slate, and she's coming off a 99-point score, so it's certainly viable. I'm just expecting a lot of big scores on this slate. Santos is minus 230 to beat Montana De La Rosa. And she's coming off a really strong victory over Molly McCann, in which she landed 5 takedowns, got 5 advances, 57 significant strikes. De La Rosa, I think, can prevent that ceiling a little bit. She actually has a wrestling and grappling background. I'm still favoring Santos to win, but I think there's less of a chance that Santos completely dominates on the mat, and I don't think she's going to knock her out on the feet necessarily. The fight is over 2.5 rounds, minus 240, so the books are expecting this one to go the distance, and Santos is only plus 300 to win inside the distance, which is one of the worst lines in this top range. Again, you simply cannot pay up for everyone, and although I think Santos has a reasonable floor in a win, I'm projecting her to win. I just can't pay up for her at 8.9K. There's so many other fighters on this high upside slate that I'd rather target, so that makes Santos my fade of the week. I won't have any exposure to her in tournament lineups this weekend. All right, guys, that's going to do it for another UFC Quick Picks. Thank you very much for watching. Again, subscribe to the channel, like the video. We really appreciate it. Best of luck in your contest this week. Take care. We'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.